In a small town in Norfolk, England, there lived a young man named Michael Carroll, who once led an ordinary and monotonous life. At the age of 19, he worked part-time as a garbage man, pushing refuse bins along narrow streets every morning, earning just enough to cover rent and buy a few snacks. But no one expected that this seemingly insignificant young man would become the top winner of the British National Lottery one night in November 2002, claiming a jackpot of £9.73 million. This moment not only changed the trajectory of Carroll's life, but also turned him into a media sensation obsessed over by tabloids. He began buying luxury cars, living in mansions, dabbling in investments, and boasting about sleeping with thousands of women. Yet only 8 years later, his life had spiraled full circle, sending him back to the garbage yard. So how did his life change during those 8 tumultuous years? Michael Carroll was born on the 29th of March, 1983, in Swaffham, a small rural town in eastern England with fewer than 8,000 residents. The local economy relied on agriculture and small-scale manufacturing, and although the pace of life was slow, people still struggled with the hardships of working-class life. Carroll's family belonged to the typical working class. His father was a truck driver, and his mother worked at a local supermarket. The family had little money, and their 5 children shared a cramped apartment where daily expenses were a constant burden. From a young age, Carroll displayed a different kind of personality. He was diagnosed with dyslexia and attention-related disorders, which put him at a disadvantage in school. Teachers recalled how he always seemed lost in class, his notebooks filled with doodles rather than legible writing. By the time he finished middle school, Carroll could barely write. He recognized some words but could not read or write fluently. This was more than an academic struggle. It became the source of his psychological trauma. His school environment was harsh. Classmates mocked him as a fool, and teachers labeled him a problem student. His rebellion began during his teenage years. At 14, Carroll stole his neighbor's bicycle for the first time, just to buy cigarettes and a few cans of beer. By 19, he had accumulated 42 petty criminal charges, including theft and public disturbances. These small crimes earned him a bad reputation in town, and he struggled to find stable work. After graduating from high school, he bounced between supermarket jobs and farm labor, but was eventually fired for his temper or poor attitude. He finally settled into part-time work as a garbage collector, a job that required no diploma, only physical strength, paying him about £100 a week. During his time as a garbageman, Carroll developed habits of smoking and drinking, spending nights in bars with friends, and dreaming of one day owning a car and leaving his town behind. His family relationships were tense, his parents often argued about his behavior, and his siblings kept their distance. Only his younger sister Zoe remained close to him, quietly giving him pocket money whenever he struggled. But fate can be strange. No one expected a lottery ticket to completely change this garbageman's life. The 23rd of November, 2002, was the draw day for the National Lottery. Carroll bought a ticket after work as usual, choosing random numbers: 3, 7, 12, 15, 28, 49, plus bonus ball 42. He had no real hope. He simply felt that since it was spare money, he might as well try. That night, he and his girlfriend Sandra sat on their worn-out sofa watching the live broadcast. As the winning numbers appeared on the screen, Carroll's heartbeat grew faster, one by one. All the numbers matched. For a moment, the world seemed to freeze. Sandra screamed. The neighbors soon heard the commotion, and within hours, media cameras lit up the town. The total prize reached £9.73 million, making 19-year-old Carroll the youngest major lottery winner in British history. On the day of the award ceremony, he wore a t-shirt and jeans as he stood in front of reporters holding the oversized check. Asked what he planned to do with the money, he smiled and said he wanted to drive around in a car. The first week after winning the lottery was pure bliss for Carroll. He quit his job, moved into a rented apartment, and became a grassroots celebrity adored by the media, a classic rags to riches story. He was interviewed countless times and quickly embraced the role of the flashy young millionaire, He bought the first luxury car of his life, a used Porsche Boxster worth 30,000 pounds, and drove around showing it off. But beneath the excitement, dangers were already brewing. Because of his long criminal record, many banks refused to open accounts for him, so he kept stacks of cash in old envelopes. Financial advisors urged him to set up a trust, but he refused, saying, "I'm only 19. Why would I need advisors? It's my money." Soon, he had spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on clothes, electronics, and endless parties. His circle of friends expanded rapidly. People he had barely known suddenly flocked to him. Sandra remained his emotional support, and the two married at the end of 2002, celebrating with 200 guests in a local bar. Carroll gave his mother, aunt, and sister Zoe 1 million pounds each as compensation for their years of hardship. But this generosity soon became a trap. More and more relatives and friends asked him for money, and he could not refuse. Over the next 2 years, Carroll's life spiraled out of control like a wild horse, breaking free from its reins. He bought a Victorian manor worth 325,000 pounds, complete with a swimming pool and stables, but soon abandoned it, barely living there for more than a few days. He filled his garage with luxury vehicles, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and Harley Davidsons, worth over £500,000 in total. He even kept lions, tigers, and crocodiles as pets, with monthly maintenance costs reaching tens of thousands of pounds. Every week, he hosted outrageous parties featuring drugs, alcohol, and escorts, spending tens of thousands of pounds in a single night. His private life grew increasingly chaotic. He bragged about sleeping with thousands of women and claimed there was something happening in every room of the house every day. These parties drained his wealth and destroyed his health. Carroll admitted he started each day with cocaine and vodka, spending 20,000 pounds a month on drugs. When he grew tired of this lifestyle, he tried investing. Believing he was clever, he invested 1 million pounds into a Scottish football club. But when the club went bankrupt in 2012, he lost everything. He spent another 150,000 pounds on gold and jewelry, only to pawn it later. He also purchased a 3.9 million pound investment bond, which should have generated stable income, but constant withdrawals triggered huge penalties that cost him thousands every month. By 2006, the BBC reported he was nearly bankrupt, having burned through millions on houses, drugs, parties, and jewelry. Carroll's story also inspired research on lottery psychology, revealing that nearly 90% of major lottery winners go bankrupt within 5 years. The root of this phenomenon is not the money itself, but human nature. Sudden wealth magnifies weaknesses, impulsive spending, poor planning, lack of financial education, and pressure from the people around them. Carroll became a classic example of how wealth without discipline can destroy a life. Similar cases have appeared across the United States and Europe, often called the lottery curse, where winners fall into addiction, depression, family breakdown, or complete collapse. Yet, Carroll's life also shows another side of the truth. Even after losing everything, a person can still rebuild. Returning to his job as a garbageman, living in a small house in Scotland, and working hard every day, Carroll found a kind of peace that money never gave him. In 2013, he remarried Sandra, the woman who once left him at his lowest point, proving that time and sincerity can heal even the deepest wounds. His sister's death made him determined to quit drugs for good. Today, at 39, Carroll lives without cars, without luxury, and without debt. He says he has no regrets. If he could live it all again, he might still spend every penny, but this time, he would spend more of his life loving the people around him. Carroll's story is a reminder for the digital age. Dreams are easy to have, difficult to achieve, and even harder to maintain once they come true. Perhaps the greatest wisdom lies not in gaining wealth, but in learning to live seriously and meaningfully. That concludes today's story. What do you think about Michael Carroll's journey from a troubled teen to a millionaire, and then back to an ordinary man? Leave your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and share. I'm Thattstrange, and I'll see you in the next episode.